Crows have been watching you for months, and they know exactly who you are. You've seen the same crow in your yard before, maybe more than once, maybe every single day for weeks. You assumed it was just passing through, that it didn't mean anything, that you were one yard among hundreds in its territory, and it simply hadn't moved on yet. You were wrong. That crow knows your face. It knows your routine. It knows what time you leave the house, which door you use, whether you're the kind of person who throws food or ignores it. It has been watching you, carefully, consistently, and with a level of intelligence that most people find genuinely unsettling when they first understand it. And if you've ever done something that upset it, even once, even by accident, it almost certainly hasn't forgotten. Welcome back to Backyard Bird Mind. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe because what you're about to learn will change the way you look at every bird that visits your yard. Today, we're going into the crow, the most intelligent wild bird in the American backyard, the one that remembers faces, holds grudges, teaches its children, and has been building a detailed picture of you, your habits, your character, your reliability, for longer than you realize. There are 8 things I want you to know about what crows actually see when they look at you. Stay until the end, because the last one changes everything about how you think about the birds in your neighborhood. This is not folklore. This is not anthropomorphism. This is one of the most replicated findings in modern animal cognition research. In a landmark study conducted at the University of Washington, researchers wore specific masks while capturing and banding crows on campus.
The crows were handled, measured, and released, a mildly stressful experience. The researchers then walked through the same area wearing those masks again, doing nothing threatening, simply walking. The crows responded with immediate alarm. They scolded the masked figures, dive-bombed them, and recruited other crows to join in the harassment. This continued for years. When researchers who had never worn the masks put them on and walked the same routes, they received the same treatment, even though those individuals had never personally interacted with the crows. The crows had transferred the information. They had taught other crows, including juveniles born after the original captures, to recognize and react to a specific human face. This is not instinct. This is learned, transmitted, cultural knowledge. The implications for your backyard are significant. Every interaction you have ever had with the crows in your neighborhood has been logged, not vaguely, specifically. If you've chased one away, thrown something at one, made a loud noise near one, that information exists in your local crow community, and it has almost certainly been shared. The crow that visits your yard regularly is not just passing time, it is gathering information. Crows are what researchers call neophilic. They are drawn to novelty, to new objects, new situations, new individuals. But they combine that curiosity with extraordinary caution. Before a crow fully incorporates a new element into its environment, including a new human, it observes, at length, from multiple angles, over multiple days. What it's building is something remarkably close to what we would call a profile. It knows which window you look out of in the morning. It knows whether you move quickly or slowly.
It knows whether you look up when you hear crow calls or ignore them. It knows whether you put food out consistently or sporadically. It knows whether other crows trust you. Crow researcher Dr. John Marsluff of the University of Washington describes this as the crow building a reputation map of the individuals in its territory. Humans who behave consistently and predictably are mapped as safe. Humans who behave erratically, aggressively, or unpredictably are mapped as threats, and that classification is extraordinarily difficult to reverse. You have a reputation with your local crows. The question is, what kind? But what comes next is something most people find impossible to believe. The crow family unit is one of the most socially complex structures in the bird world. Crow pairs typically mate for life. Their offspring, called helpers, often remain with the family group for 1 to 5 years, assisting with territory defense, food finding, and the raising of subsequent broods. This means that when a crow family learns something about a human in their territory, that you can be trusted, that you feed them, that you once threw a shoe at them, that information is passed directly to the next generation. Research tracking individual crow families across multiple years has documented the transmission of human-specific information from parents to offspring with remarkable consistency. Juveniles who have never personally interacted with a specific human will show the same wariness or the same trust as their parents because they have been told. Your reputation with your local crows is not limited to the birds currently alive. It is an inheritance. It is being passed forward.
The crows sitting on your fence right now may be reacting to something you did or something your neighbor did 2 or 3 years ago, before that crow was even born. If a crow has decided you are a threat, understand this: it will not simply move on. The University of Washington research documented crow grudge behavior lasting over 17 years in some cases, far beyond the lifespan of the individual birds who had the original negative experience. The grudge had been transmitted so completely that it outlived its origin. But grudges are not the whole story. Crows also maintain what researchers call positive associations with specific humans, and these are equally persistent. A person who feeds crows regularly, who behaves consistently and calmly near them, who does not threaten or startle them, builds a relationship of trust that compounds over time. Crows in positive relationships with specific humans have been documented approaching those individuals voluntarily, waiting for them at regular times, and in one of the most extraordinary documented behaviors in all of bird research, bringing them gifts. Small objects, shiny things, pieces of wire, buttons, beads, fragments of glass, left deliberately at locations where the human regularly appears. This is not accidental. Researchers have confirmed through careful observation that individual crows specifically bring objects to specific humans who have fed them, not randomly, not to any human, but to the one they have identified as a reliable and positive presence in their world. Stay with me, because this one changes how you think about bird intelligence entirely. Crows belong to the family Corvidae, a group that includes ravens, jays, and magpies.
And the cognitive research on corvids over the past 20 years has produced findings that have genuinely surprised the scientific community. Crows manufacture and use tools. New Caledonian crows, studied extensively by Oxford University researchers, not only use sticks to extract insects from bark, they shape and modify those tools to make them more effective. They select raw materials based on their properties. They carry tools they will need later to locations where they plan to use them. But the North American crow, the one in your backyard, demonstrates something equally remarkable: causal reasoning. In a study conducted at Cambridge University, crows were presented with a floating treat in a tube of water, out of reach. They were provided with stones of different sizes. They determined, without prior experience of this specific situation, that dropping stones into the tube would raise the water level and bring the treat within reach. And they selected the larger stones, not the smaller ones, because they understood the relationship between stone size and water displacement. The crow watching you from your fence post is not simply reacting to stimuli. It is thinking about you, drawing conclusions, making predictions about what you will do next. If you've made it this far, what comes next is going to make you listen to crow calls very differently. Crows have one of the most complex vocal systems of any bird species. Researchers have identified over 20 distinct vocalizations, calls that communicate food, danger, identity, location, emotional state, and social information with a specificity that goes far beyond simple alarm signals. When a crow makes a specific scolding call directed at a human, it is not just expressing irritation.
It is broadcasting information. Other crows within hearing range, which can extend hundreds of meters, receive and process that signal. They identify the location of the threat, they identify the nature of the threat, and they respond accordingly. This means that an interaction you have with one crow in your yard, a single moment of conflict or trust, is potentially heard and processed by dozens of birds in your neighborhood within seconds. Your reputation does not stay with one crow, it propagates. And when a crow makes a different call, the softer, more varied sounds associated with positive social interaction, it broadcasts that too. Crows that are calm and comfortable in your presence communicate that comfort. Other crows observe the behavior of trusted crows around specific humans and update their own assessments accordingly. Being trusted by one crow is the beginning of being trusted by all of them. This is the one that stays with people. Groups of crows, sometimes numbering in the dozens, will gather near a dead crow. They become quiet, unusually so for a species known for constant vocalization. They do not feed, they do not engage in territorial behavior. They stay for minutes, sometimes longer, and then disperse. The behavior has been studied at the University of Washington and interpreted as a form of information gathering, the living crows learning about potential dangers from the location and condition of the dead. But the researchers themselves note that the behavioral profile of these gatherings exceeds what would be needed purely for information transmission. There is something else in it, something that resembles, without being identical to, what we would call grief.
If you have ever witnessed this in your yard or your neighborhood, a sudden, quiet gathering of crows around a still figure on the ground, the unusual silence, the slow dispersal, you are witnessing something that researchers are still working to fully understand. And the crows that gathered knew exactly where they were, in a territory they had mapped, near humans they had assessed. They chose that place. I saved this one for last because it's the most important and the most hopeful. Everything I've described, the facial recognition, the reputation mapping, the transmission of information, the grudges, all of it works in both directions. If your local crows have assessed you as safe, as reliable, as a positive presence in their territory, the relationship that follows is one of the most extraordinary things available to a backyard birder. Not because crows are cute or pleasant in the way a cardinal is, but because they are genuinely engaging with you as an individual. Not your yard, not your feeder, you. The practical steps are simple. Begin leaving food. Unsalted peanuts in the shell are the most universally accepted offering, at the same spot, at the same time, every day. Be visible, but not intrusive. Speak calmly if you speak at all. Do not make sudden movements. Do not approach. Let them approach you. Within weeks, the crows in your territory will have updated their assessment of you. Within months, you may find them waiting for you, calling in a way that sounds different from their alarm calls, lower, more varied, almost conversational. And one day, you may find something small and shiny left on the railing where you always stand. That is not an accident.
That is a crow telling you that you have been seen, truly seen, by a mind more complex than most people ever realize was watching them. Have you ever had an experience with a crow that made you feel genuinely watched or recognized? Has one ever left you something? Tell me in the comments. I read every one, and the crow stories are always among the most extraordinary. I'll see you in the next